Montgomery gave the Cards a 6-3 win. Atlanta won its fifth straight game, beating Milwaukee 2-1. I'm Brad Price of the Sports on your Gator Nation station, 540 WFLA.
Do you wonder how American Muslims, and indeed Muslims worldwide, but let's put the spotlight now on America's Muslim population, how they are truly reacting to the killing of Osama bin Laden? We're going to try to get some perspective on that from a man who certainly has some. From Topeka, Kansas, Imam Omar Hazim, the author of Islam in the Heartland of America, joins us. Welcome to Bud Hedinger Live, Imam. Thank you very much for coming on.
I thank you for the invitation. It's my honor and pleasure to be here.
First of all, tell us a little bit about the book and the focus and what we will learn from it.
Okay, the book is titled, as you mentioned, Islam in the Heartland of America. The purpose of this book is to reach out to the general public of America and the world to show them how Islam is actually taught in a mosque on Fridays. Friday is our service day all around the world, and there's what's called prayer service to Jummah. There's a lecture that's given, and I thought it would be a good idea to put some of these lectures in print. Some of them are mine, some of them are by other imams and scholars in this area and in the country. And so I felt also that showing that we could also show the good, close relationship that we have with Christians and Jews in this area. We are part of the interfaith. We have been for over 30 years. And then also show the relationship with some of the past governors and mayors and elected officials of our city.
Let me ask you a question, because this is the thing I think people think about all the time, is take a situation like the assassination of Osama bin Laden, who was directly responsible for the death of nearly 3,000 citizens, and there were Muslims among them, no question about it, on September 11th, 2001, and of course responsible directly through his leadership of Al-Qaeda for the death of thousands of innocent people worldwide. The perception on this program from so many people I am in touch with who are just average Americans, some Muslims, a lot not Muslims, are that the Muslim community does not react to a situation like this with the same patriotic fervor that the rest of America does. To which you would say what, sir?
Well, I think that's only an opinion of a few. Because
it's an observation. It's an observation. Why don't we see Muslims? Oh, I absolutely am, sir, and I'm so glad you're with me. But I need you to help us with this. Why are we not seeing Muslims all over America chanting USA, USA like everybody else? They seem very, very quiet in a situation where we might expect otherwise. Help us understand the mentality of that.
I would be glad to if you stop talking a minute and let me talk. You asked me the question. You invited me here to be your guest, so let me respond.
Go right ahead, sir.
I think throughout the Muslim world and here in America, including myself, with all Muslims that I've talked to, all of the reports that I've seen online from the Islamic Muslim organizations are very thrilled at the death of Osama bin Laden. And you also must remember that he have killed more Muslims throughout the world. As you mentioned, and I'm glad you did, there was almost 800 Muslims that was killed on September 11th. And throughout the world, Pakistan,
sure.
In many countries, they have bombed mosques where Muslims was praying. And so his death is certainly a relief, and it's definitely something that we all applaud.
Are you just so low-key as a group, American Muslims? Is it a cultural thing? Is that it? That you feel the same things in your heart, but you just don't tend to emote like non-Muslims do? Is that true?
No, I think that those items have been expressed. I think all people are different as far as their expression is concerned. We agree with President Obama and his team for going in there and getting Osama bin Laden, and we just hope and pray that this may settle down some of the rhetoric about Islam and terrorism in general, because Osama bin Laden did not represent any Islamic movement. He represented a movement of hatred that he created himself, and a movement that hated all people, whether they were Muslims or non-Muslims. He had made many indirect and derogatory statements about the Quran. He have turned many things around according to the definitions of jihad and everything else. So we are happy and glad that we will hear no more rhetoric from him. There may be others, and those others that will come up, we will condemn them also, just like we condemn him and all of Al-Qaeda and anybody that have that particular philosophy that's not an Islamic philosophy.
Imam Omar Hasim, I only have a minute left because I have another guest coming up and I need to get to that. But I want to give you an opportunity to try and clear up what you might consider to be the misconceptions that so many non-Muslims have about Muslims in America.
Okay, I think one of the greatest misconceptions, a couple of misconceptions. One, many non-Muslims think that when we say Allah is God, that we're talking about a different God. We believe that there's only one God that created the heavens and the earth, and that is the same God that the Christians and Jews and all other people of faith believe in. The name Allah is only an Arabic name, but when you translate Allah to English, you say God. Therefore, Jews and Christians that live in those Arabic countries and speak Arabic, when they call on God, they say Allah, simply because it is the language that brings about the difference. The other misconception is jihad. Jihad is a word that is constantly misunderstood. It's not holy war. It means struggle or strive to apply any effort of good, and whether it's by a Muslim or a non-Muslim. When a person is faced with two competing interests, it becomes a jihad to choose the best or the right one.
Thank you, sir, very much. From Topeka, Kansas, I'm live with Imam Omar Hasim, the author of Islam in the Heartland of America. Thank you for coming on the show. I wish we had more time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Coming up, a first responder on 9/11 who is initiating a lawsuit to stop construction of that mosque in the shadow of Ground Zero. He is next with the Budman live. Don't miss it. Good morning at 8:12. Hey, if you're struggling with your weight, I totally relate to that because it was a nightmare for me for so many years. I tried so many weight loss programs and diets. You know, I'd lose some weight and then I'd gain even more back, and it was a losing battle for so long. So if you're playing that game, I want you to end the game by getting a hold of my friends at the Medifast Weight Control Center nearest you, home of the Medifast weight loss program that took 75 pounds off the Budman in 6 months. Boy, it's just incredible. And at your Medifast Center, with help from your Medifast counselor, you can lose up to 2 to 5 pounds a week. I said up to 2 to 5 pounds a week. I found it to be effortless. So delicious, so nutritious. Well, this program, all developed by doctors, recommended by 20,000 doctors in the last 30 years, including mine. And I recommend you get a hold of them right now at your Medifast Center. If you call now, you will receive $100 off any program fee upon enrollment. Make today the day you get started. You can do this. 1-888-9-MEDIFAST. 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 New Medifast centers in Lake Mary and Winter Park, along with the one on Sand Lake Road. Online, MedifastFlorida.com.
This portion of 540 WFLA is brought to you by Trustco Bank.
Hey, how about Mother's Day brunch at the one and only Houlihan's? Well, actually, there are 4 Houlihan's, and this is the place for Mother's Day brunch. Great atmosphere, terrific service, and incredible food. And how about this price? $12.95 for Mother's Day brunch at Houlihan's. And we're talking about an omelet station and a carving station and an incredible selection of Houlihan's signature dishes and desserts for $12.95 a head. This is where you want to have Mother's Day with your mom. We're taking our whole family to Houlihan's this Sunday. We'll look for you. East Colonial Drive, I drive across from Point Orlando, University Boulevard at UCF, and on 192 in Kissimmee. And while you're thinking about Houlihan's, how about lunch or dinner today? Online, Houlihan's.com. 8:16 here on BHL, and we're glad you're with us. A very special guest right now. Vinnie Forrest was a first responder in Lower Manhattan on that clear September day nearly 10 years ago when Osama bin Laden signed off on the 9/11 attacks against this country. This brave first responder almost died that day, and as a result is fatally ill from chemical and other poisoning. He's been taking a look at this proposed mosque a couple of blocks from Ground Zero and agrees with me that it should not be built there. And he is bringing a class action lawsuit against the Ground Zero Mosque and its imam, Ralph. And he is joined, as we connect now, by his lawyer, our old friend Larry Klayman, who's now with Freedom Watch. Gentlemen, are you both on the line with the Budman?
Yes, you have Vinnie Forrest here, and Larry, you on?
Bud, good hearing from you. How you been?
Good. It's been a while, Larry, and I know that you're providing the legal impetus here. But Vinnie, talk to us about why you're bringing this class action lawsuit now. This mosque has been in the pipeline for quite a while.
Yeah, I'll tell you, but first, God bless you, and thanks. I'm allowed to say God bless you, right?
Absolutely right. Are you kidding? God and country always honored on this show.
Absolutely, and the father of a serving Marine, so God bless these guys that could only kill this guy once. I wish it was 3,000 times. But
I bet you do.
I really do, but this was something that, when it started to brew, most of my brothers who served down there, we started looking around like we were in the middle of a Twilight Zone episode, that they could actually propose to have a mosque on Ground Zero. This is not near Ground Zero. It's not in the vicinity.
Well, it's a couple of blocks, isn't it?
Yeah, and parts of the plane landed on this building.
I know.
Body parts are still, infiltrating the building. So this is ridiculous. We sat there, we couldn't believe it. And then, as fate has it, Larry Klayman reached out, and he was looking, to do this also as a patriot. And I guess he was looking for a victim that's either stupid enough or whatever that would stand up and step forward. I think everyone else stepped back, and it left me there and said, yeah, I'll answer the call again. How many times can they kill me? They killed so many of my brothers on 9/11, and and for me, this is a clear and present danger. It's an attack on America that, to me, in many ways, is more insidious and more serious than the 9/11 attacks. And
Larry, let me bring you in right now, and then in a moment, Vinnie, I'd like you to tell us your story of September 11th, 2001, and your situation now as a result in terms of your health. But Larry, the grounds for this class action lawsuit are what?
We kept it very simple, Bud. It's not an attack on the Islamic religion. They're trying to paint it, that is, this Imam Rauf and others, that they have a First Amendment right to build the mosque. We're saying it's not that issue. It's that this is a nuisance, primarily, is that by building this mosque, and the Imam admitted it himself, it's a magnet towards further terrorism. He said on CBS, or rather it was CNN, that if I don't get to build my mosque, you can expect more terrorism. And the president himself has recognized that that area of New York City in particular is a terrorist risk. When they moved the trial of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, that was Osama bin Laden's right-hand man.
Sure, he was the mastermind of 9/11. However, correct me if I'm wrong, President Obama said some time ago that this was a local matter and he was not going to get involved.
Well, he got involved because, as you know, what he did was, this was about a year ago, he cancels the National Day of Prayer celebration in the White House for primarily Christians and Jews. Instead, he has a celebration of Ramadan, and at that celebration of Ramadan, he then endorses the building of that Ground Zero mosque. What's particularly troubling, and I'll let Vinny turn it over, is that this Imam, Raouf, in just in the last day or so, took him 24 hours to make a statement about the death of bin Laden, said that it's time now to heal, that the war on terrorism is in effect over. But then when asked, are you still going to build your mosque? He says, of course I'm going to build my mosque. He doesn't want anything to heal. This is an attempt to wage, at a minimum, psychological terrorism, and it presents a great risk of additional terrorism in that area, which has happened more than even twice with the World Trade Center. So that's what the case is about primarily.
Sure. Now, it's interesting because Imam Raouf, who's going to build this mosque, come hell or high water, he says, when he says it's a time for healing, well, I want to talk about that in 1 minute after we check traffic and weather here because, you know, President Obama seemed very, very concerned about how the Muslim world would feel, so we had the appropriate Sharia burial of the body of Osama bin Laden. We're not going to release the photos because it is a time of healing. So in that spirit, it would seem to me that Imam Raouf, with support from the president, would back away from plans to build this mosque right down near Ground Zero, if it is in fact what they say, a time of healing. Let's pick that up with Vinny Forrest in just a moment, a 9/11 first responder who was initiating a class action lawsuit to stop that mosque. 8:22 for 60 seconds, real-time traffic and weather together on the twos. Scattered showers and storms developing this afternoon after some morning sunshine, and we have hazy sun right now. We'll have an afternoon high of 85. Clears out for Mother's Day weekend. Looks good here. Low 60s in Central Florida. Good Friday morning to you. On the line live with Vinny Forrest, who's a brave first responder on September 11th in New York City, 2001, and his attorney, Larry Klayman. And Vinny is initiating a class action lawsuit to stop the construction of that mosque slated to be built in the shadow of Ground Zero. So if the imam and the president are talking about this being a time of healing, seems to me they might understand how much pain this project causes. And perhaps you won't even have to go to court on it, because if it's really a time of healing, it seems to me, Vinny, correct me if I'm wrong, the appropriate move would be for the president and for Imam Raouf to say, you know, now I understand.
Yeah, I tell you, one would think so, but every step along the way when it comes to this issue where political correctness gone wild, it always fools me and most of my brothers who served. One of the things that I requested, you know, in my communications with the White House was that if the president could exhibit the same courage that he supposedly showed when ordering this assassination of bin Laden, that he would use the same courage to reconsider his decision on the mosque. And, you know, this is what we approached them with, and I'm hoping to have a meeting with whoever there will listen, even right up to the top, because to me this is the worst thing that can happen in Lower Manhattan. You know, there's 24-hour police protection in front of the mosque. It's operating as a mosque right now with no permits. And in the meantime, my life, my family's, Larry's, has been threatened with a de facto fatwa because we've been called enemies of Islam, equivalent to the Nazis. And this is why, because we have decided to be Americans and exercise our constitutional rights to stand up against this. But I guess that makes us racists, of course.
Let me ask you, Vinny, because time is getting tight here. You were a first responder. Talk to us about your experience on September 11th, 2001, and the result of all of that for you.
Well, I mean, it's like the book, you know, it's the best of times and the worst of times, the most horrible destruction and calamity you can possibly imagine.
What kind of work were you doing as a first responder?
I was a firefighter, and my first initial reaction was to try to save whoever would be alive, which ended up being a grand total of 0, and then bringing the body parts of our loved ones home to their families. And it left scars both mentally and physically. I take 20-some-odd meds a day. Most of the guys who served at Ground Zero are sick and dying. We've lost 1,200 first responders since the attacks. More first responders have died after than died then.
In the material that you sent us, it says you're fatally ill as a result of chemical and other poisoning. Is it true, Vinny, you're not going to make it?
Yeah, I mean, you know, I've kind of surpassed some of the odds of a lot of the other guys, but, you know, I got one more fight left in me, so this is the one. And, you know, I choose my battles wisely, but this is answering the call for America again, like all our guys did on 9/11, and we just can't fail on this one. I mean,
Larry, in closing, you're the attorney on this class action lawsuit. What happens now? How does this play out? How do you orchestrate this in such a way that you maximize your chances of succeeding, which is exactly what I think would be justice?
It's follow the money. We know that this imam has taken money from terrorist-related interests. One of them was part of a case in Dallas, Texas, an unindicted co-conspirator. This is part of the Islamic Center of North America, which is related to terrorism. So when we get into the money, in this case we'll proceed. We're now in the early stages of it. I believe they will fold up and go away because they don't want us to trace where that money's coming from. Let me add one other thing, Bud. People,
yes.
We need support. Vinny needs protection. We have been threatened. If people will support us, they can go to our website at freedomwatchusa.org. You can see the lawsuit. Click the case section.
Give me that again. Give me that again.
Watch USA, one word, freedomwatchusa.org. We really need the help from Floridians who we know are behind us.
God bless you, Larry. It's nice to reconnect with you after so many years. We used to have you on the afternoon show. And Vinny Forrest, God bless you, my friend. And I really appreciate not only your heroism on September 11th, but your persistence here in pressing a point that needs to be successfully made. I'm not saying there shouldn't be a mosque in Lower Manhattan. There are mosques all over New York City. You're not saying it either. But get it away from the hallowed ground.
Absolutely. God bless you, Bud.
God bless you, Bud. You're great. Thank you.
Thank you both very much. Thank you. 828 here on BHL. 407-916-5400 as we continue. I'm still emotional about the interview with 9/11 first responder Vinnie Forrest. What a story. What a story. And apparently, even though he's hanging in there, fatally ill with the effects of the chemicals, et cetera, from the collapse of the Twin Towers, where he was answered the call at Ground Zero as a heroic New York City firefighter to save anybody he could. And I really admire the fact that in conjunction with attorney Larry Klayman, he is initiating a class action lawsuit to stop the construction of that mosque in the shadow of the fallen Twin Towers. It is a completely outrageous and unconscionable and indefensible, in your face, from Imam Rauf and anybody else with those sentiments who thinks that this is an appropriate thing to do. And in this so-called spirit of healing that the Imam is talking about right now, it's a time to heal. Well, understand the pain. Understand the suffering. And take a look at it from another angle. And conclude, without court proceedings, that this is just flat wrong. And that if we want healing on all sides, we need to do our part. And by God, by Allah, by Muhammad, by anybody, we're going to move that mosque far away from Ground Zero. 407-916-5400 on the Vinnie Forrest interview. God bless him, and Larry Klayman, too. 407-916-5400. Now we're going to find out. Now we're going to find out whether there's any substance to the imam saying the death of Osama bin Laden is now presenting us with a time for healing. We'll find out with what happens with this mosque and whether or not they contest this class action lawsuit. 407-916-5400. And the president, who went out of his way in deference to Islam by giving the scourge of this world, Osama bin Laden, a Sharia-style burial at sea, washing the body, perfuming him up, wrapping him in a shroud, and sending him into the briny deep. And the president who says, you know, we're not going to spike the football. It's a time for healing. We're not going to release the Osama bin Laden death photos. Okay, Mr. President, I'm calling you out. If it really is a time for healing, Mr. President, you will get with Imam Rauf, and you will use the power and the prestige of your office to turn him away from finishing construction of this mosque in the shadow of Ground Zero. Because, Mr. President, then we will truly know that in all ways, from all angles, this truly is what you seem to suggest this to be, a time for healing. Building that mosque down there is Islam spiking the football, Mr. President. 407-916-5400, your calls. Welcome. 842 on BHL. Real-time traffic and weather together on the twos. Well, back on the phones with you. The interview with Vinnie Forrest, the first responder initiating the class action lawsuit to stop the mosque near Ground Zero. My comments as well. And also the hottest topic on the show earlier today. If you want to have one more crack on the phones on this, I'm going to give you the opportunity. Last night's first of the season GOP presidential debate with a limited field because a bunch of the top-tier people like Romney and Gingrich and company bailed on this thing, debated in South Carolina. And the consensus was, and it doesn't surprise me one bit, Herman Cain won the debate. This guy is now going first tier. He is awesome and a force to be reckoned with. Herman Cain, did you catch him in the debate last night? Tell me what you think. 407-916-5400. On the line to Titusville now. Good morning from the coast. Rita, you're on Bud Hedinger Live. What's on your mind?
Hi, good morning, Bud.
Hi there.
Listen, I can solve the mosque problem very, very simply. Without any violence, without any guns, nothing. Here's what you do. You throw a dead pig on the property, okay? They did that in Spain. They did that in several other places. They buried a pig, and by custom, the Muslims cannot build anything where the place has been desecrated. You follow me?
Okay, fair enough. And you think that would do it, huh?
I think it would. And then you know what? As an ex-New Yorker, I am appalled that they would even think about doing that. And we got to get some guts. You know what I'm saying? We got to get some real leadership. A guy like Alan West in the office to really put these people in their place.
Hey, how about Alan West and Herman Cain as a ticket?
I love it. I met Alan West last year in Del Rey, a shootout, and I got to tell you, he's a straight-up guy. And
oh, he is. A Tea Party guy. He's rock-solid military veteran, and boy, I'll tell you what, he is a force to be reckoned with, no question about it. And I emceed the recent Tea Party in downtown Orlando. We had a huge crowd there, and the keynote speaker who wrapped it up was Herman Cain. And I said right then, Herman, I'd love to see you win the GOP nomination just to see you eat the president's lunch in the debates. And, boy, he ate him up in the GOP debate last night. And I'll tell you, it would be incredible because this guy brings so much to the table. Rita, thank you very much. Herman Cain last night, did you see him? I've had people say that they really didn't even know who he was. And then they were saying, my goodness, who is that? Who is that? Well, that's Herman Cain, talk show host and former chief executive of Godfather's Pizza. Rock-solid Tea Party conservative, fair tax guy. Extraordinary communication skills. Black conservative par excellence. And he dominated the debate last night. And all of a sudden, he's going to be a first-tier guy. And this is a wide-open race. 407-916-5400. I mean, it was amazing. And Frank Luntz, who is the Fox News guy, who's the poller, who has those little meters that focus groups, everybody has one, and as they listen to what anyone is saying, they react instantaneously by turning the meter, and the graph goes up or down, registering their approval or disapproval second by second. Luntz said last night something special happened he had never seen before. 29 people in the focus group. Going in, only one had any real sense of Herman Cain as being a factor in the Republican presidential race and in the upcoming debate. At the end of the debate, Frank Luntz asked everybody who won. There were 5 candidates debating. All 29 said Herman Cain. And Luntz said, I've never seen anything like that before. What does Herman Cain bring to the table that I think would be really tough for Barack Obama to deal with? He is a businessman. He understands the private sector. He understands jobs and what it takes to create them, and that you create them in the private sector, not the public sector, not the government, Mr. President. He understands all of that. He's a talk show host, and his communication skills have been honed to the point where you will not find his equal. And President Obama, as slick as he can be as a communicator, is not Herman Cain's equal. What else does he bring to the table? He's black. That will be a real problem for Barack Obama. You know the subtleties of the way the race issue weaves its way in and out of campaigns. It completely neutralizes that. Herman Cain was incredible last night, and he's just warming up. Oh, the other thing he brings to the table, and he spoke to it, and it was the golden moment of the debate. They said, Chris Wallace says, well, how in the world can you be president? You don't have any elective office experience. He said, well, all those people that got elected and they sent them to Washington, how's that working out for you? 8:52 on BHL. Your calls welcome as we charge toward the 9 o'clock hour. Here's a check on real-time traffic and weather together on the 2 is our last one of the show. All right, we're looking at clouds rolling in with scattered afternoon showers and storms and a high of mid-80s. We're looking at a very nice Mother's Day weekend behind that, though, on Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy. Mid-60s here in Central Florida now. Let's go to the phones. Tom, you're on the line with the Budman. Good morning from Orlando.
Good morning, Bud. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
You too.
I'd just like to make a point. Obama finds it necessary to get involved where Boeing's concerned, a private business trying to develop a new branch in South Carolina, yet he won't make it his business when it comes to the mosque in New York, and I think that says, a lot about him.
Oh, sure, absolutely. He's getting involved in that situation with Boeing because it's a right-to-work state, as opposed to a union state, and, I absolutely agree. I think you make a good point there. Ali from Orlando on BHL. What's on your mind this morning, sir?
Hello, Bud. Good morning. How are you?
Excellent. And you?
I hope that doesn't make me an evil person. I'm an American, but
Wait a minute. Whoa. Hope what doesn't make you an evil person?
Because I'm a Muslim. When I just start with that, hopefully you don't hold that against me.
No, of course not. Why would I? Why would I do that?
Your show a little bit, but it's just agree with people that calling Muslims names. You just don't say anything about it. You just
I don't have a problem, as Paletti said last night, I don't have a problem with Islam. I have a problem with radical Islam. I don't have a problem with Muslims. I have a problem with radical Muslims, and so should you.
I do. I do have problems. You know what I also have problems? When our president bowing and one of the Republican president dancing and the Democrat president bowing to the biggest terrorist, the Saudi Arabia king. Why are we, because of the oil, bowing to the terrorists, and then when something happens, the Muslim terrorists?
I'm not sure where you're going with this, Ali. Why did you call?
I called is just that why couldn't we call them terrorists? Why I couldn't call an American that raped someone or killed someone a Christian rapist or a Christian killer?
That's interesting. You know what, Ali? I think I agree with you. And you know why I agree with you? I think it's gotten to the point where saying Islamic terrorists is just about superfluous. Because not all terrorists are from Islam, but almost all of them are. So maybe we can just assume everybody understands who we're talking about when we call them terrorists. How's that?
Exactly. Thank you so much. I don't call these people Muslim at all. They're just bad egg, bad apple, an evil person that they are.
Hey, let me ask you about the Ground Zero area mosque down there and the class action lawsuit by the September 11th, 2001 responder who's now fatally ill from what happened to him in the collapse of the Twin Towers. What about the class action lawsuit to move that mosque? Would you join that as a peace-loving, patriotic Muslim American? Oh, let's just call you an American, shall we? You would join this. Would you not join this class action lawsuit, sir, realizing that if this is a time of healing after the killing of bin Laden, that one way to heal is to get that painful symbol of Islam out of the area of Ground Zero?
if it was up to me, but I would build it 3 miles down the road, 3 miles, 10 blocks, 15 blocks.
Why are they building it 2 blocks away? It's an in-your-face by Islam, Ali, and it sounds like you don't support that.
You see, it's not by Islam. The people who are choosing to be there, that maybe they have different agenda. They don't represent over 1 billion people. But
well, let me ask you, what would you tell Imam Rauf, who wants to build it in the shadow of ground zero? If you had his ear, if you were face-to-face with him right now, Ali, what would you tell him?
I would say just to save the face of your own religion, to save Muslim religion, just to save that, just to make it so most people, for them it's painful, I know, and I lost a friend at the Twin Towers, and it's painful.
Then here's what you need to do, and this is a problem I have in general with American Muslims, that they're silent on too many of these issues. Why don't we get a whole bunch of Muslims who feel just like you, who would have more influence with the imam than the rest of we non-Muslims in America, and get on this guy's case big time and say, this is a time of healing, this is causing unimaginable pain, sir, move your mosque.
I would love to do that. I would love to sit with him and ask him that why is it that we couldn't build this mosque just 5 blocks down from the ground zero?
Thank you very much, Ali, and I hope you agree you got a fair shake from the Budman here. And if I hated Muslims, as you seem to suggest off the top, don't you think you would have gotten a little less airtime? Here's John in Orlando. Good morning, John.
Hey, good morning, Bud. Hey, thanks for taking my call. As a side note on the mosque issue, I don't have a problem if they build a mosque there or not. But if somebody plants a pig in the ground, that doesn't bother me either. Hey, concerning Herman Cain, I didn't catch the debate last night, but it does not surprise me the results that you talked about.
That was amazing.
Man is a great man, a great conservative. I drive all the time, so I'm always listening to talk radio, and it's not necessarily always conservative. The first few times I've heard Herman Cain, I didn't pick up right away that he was black. And it didn't mean anything to me when I found out that he was black. He's a great conservative and a very honorable man.
Oh, he is. And, boy, he's got the communication skills. He's got the issues down. He can lay it out there. He's very, very likable, very, very together. And he has the private sector executive expertise that, frankly, I think we desperately need in the chief executive of the United States, a.k.a. the president.
Absolutely. He's got my vote and my wallet to help him around.
There you go, John. Thank you very much. Oh, thanks to our friends at Houlihan's who brought in some great, great food this morning in advance of their great Mother's Day brunch. Mother's Day brunch at one of the 4 Houlihan's restaurants. I want to recommend that to you in the Orlando area. We're going to be over at the UCF one on Sunday with about a dozen of us in our family. $12.95 for Mother's Day brunch. I mean, a carving station, an omelet station, all those custom-made, made from scratch desserts and special Houlihan's dishes. It's going to be awesome. But this morning, oh, that stuffed chicken breast, the filet mignon, and the grilled shrimp. Wow, what a start for the weekend, which starts for me right now. Happy Mother's Day, one and all. For Jenna, Jeff, and the whole team, the Budman here, thanks for the show. Thanks for being with us. God bless you, and God bless America.